Let's begin by offering our respects to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Okay, so what did we see in the previous class?
Previous class, Mataji was function in your house, Janamata. So previous to that, we finished the chapter 17, and today we are going to begin the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18. 18.
No, we already started chapter 18.
We started 18?
Yeah, we have
2 verses.
finished 18 verses of chapter 18. Were you there for that class?
Oh. But we didn't miss a class.
Come on.
Okay. I thought we finished the chapter 17 and today we are going to start 18. Okay.
Last week, we...
the perfection of renunciation. Okay.
Okay, so this chapter 18, titled Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation, is a summary of all the previous chapters. So therefore, there is no specific connection between chapter 17 and chapter 18. And this chapter begins with Arjuna asking between Tyaga and Sannyasa. He wants more clarification on these two subject matters, Tyaga and Sannyasa. Why he's asking this is because previously Krishna has been focusing on renunciation, and Arjuna is thinking that if I fight this war and win the kingdom, then where is the question of renunciation? So therefore, again, Arjuna wants to clarify this. Therefore, he asks this question at the beginning of the chapter. And then Krishna begins by first giving the opinion of others. So that's why he says that great learned men called the renounced order of life, called sannyas. What is sannyas is giving up the activities that are based on material desires. So sannyas means to give up the activities itself, which are based on material desires, whereas tyaga is only giving up the results of activities. Okay, so this is the opinion of other great sages. But then Krishna says here, my judgment about this renunciation. And then Krishna says, because previously he says that some people say that sacrifice, charity and penance should never be given up. And some people say that they should be given up. Then Krishna says that here, my judgment about this. And Krishna says that these acts of sacrifice, charity and penance should never be given up. What's the reason? Because these activities purify even the great souls. So what to speak of conditioned souls? Does it ring a bell now in your mind? Do you remember all this?
Yes. Yes, now yes.
Okay. So then Krishna says that prescribed duty should never be. And then he talks about renunciation in 3 modes. Renunciation mode of ignorance, renunciation mode of passion, and renunciation mode of goodness. And then Krishna describes the intelligent renouncer. An intelligent renouncer is one who is situated in a mode of goodness. He doesn't hate inauspicious work, nor is he attached to auspicious work, and he has no doubts about work itself. So that's an intelligent renunciation, which means you do your duty and don't be attached to the results, that is in the mode of goodness. Then Krishna says that it is impossible for an embodied being to give up all activity. So it's not possible for the soul to give up anything and do zero activity, because the nature of the soul is to always be active. So what is intelligence is to utilize the senses, but in the service of the Lord. Then Krishna gives us the 5 causes for the accomplishment of any action. What are they? The place of action, the performer, the senses, the endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. So all these 5 factors have to come together for any action to take place. If somebody says that I'm a self-made man, that today I have achieved success because of my hard work, he's only considering one of the 5 factors, his own endeavor, but he's not considering the other factors. And if somebody says that, oh, I will just sit back and whatever has to come, why do I need to go to work? Then he's forgetting that he also has to put in his endeavor. So there are 5 factors for for carrying out any action. And then, so there Krishna explains that one who thinks himself the only doer, that person is not very intelligent, Krishna says. So one should not think that I can make or break my own destiny, or I'm a self-made man, stuff like that. So Krishna says that such people are not very intelligent. Then Krishna talks about 3 motivators of action, which are knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. And he talks about 3 constituents of action, the senses, worker, and doer. So in 18, he's mentioning 6 items, isn't it? Knowledge, object of knowledge, knower of knowledge, knower, and senses, work, and doer. Now, out of the 6, Krishna is going to pick 3 of these 6 items, and he's going to elaborate on it. That's what we are going to see in today's class, from verse 19 onwards. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so in this section, which we are going to see today, this is called as a karma section. From section 3 to section 8, we are going to revisit the yoga ladder. And section 3, we are going to see action. Okay, Krishna is going to speak about one's knowledge, then karma, then karta, buddhi, dhritti, and sukha. Each of these items, Krishna is going to speak about the 3 modes of material nature. So jnana, first thing is jnana, knowledge. So he's going to speak about jnana in mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Then again karma, again in each of the 3 modes. Like that, all of these items, he's going to speak in each of the 3 modes. And what's the connection is, first step of action is, first of all, we should have some knowledge before we perform any action. Then the action itself. Now to perform the action, there has to be the doer of the action, that is the karta. And for the karta to perform any action, there has to be some understanding, some buddhi, some intelligence is required. Now when one does the action with buddhi, with understanding, then for that he requires determination so that the action can be taken to the finishing point, now that he gives up halfway, midway. So therefore determination is required. Therefore then Krishna speaks about dhritti in each of the 3 modes. And when one does the activity with his understanding, with his knowledge, and with determination, eventually it is going to bear fruit. And when it bears fruit, it gives happiness, sukha. So then Krishna speaks about sukha or happiness in the 3 modes of material nature. This is what we are going to see in today's class. So as we discussed in 18.18, Krishna mentions 6 elements. Now out of these 6, he's going to pick up 3, jnana, karta, and karma. And he's going to analyze these 3 out of the 6 elements. Okay, so let's hear the shloka.
ज्ञानं कर्म च कर्ता च त्रिधैव गुणभेदतः प्रोच्यते गुणसङ्ख्याने यथावत् शृणुतान्यपि.
According to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge, action, and performer of action. Now hear of them from me.
So now Krishna is saying here from me about jnana, karma, and karta. Let's see what he has to say.
सर्वभूतेषु येनैकं भावमव्ययमीक्षते अविभक्तं विभक्तेषु तज्ज्ञानं विद्धि सात्विकम्.
That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, through they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness.
So here he is explaining jnana in the mode of goodness, in sattva guna. So what is knowledge in sattva guna? Where one understands that there is a spirit soul who is undivided, although he appears to be divided. They are divided into innumerable forms. So there is one spirit soul, or so there is the spirit soul which is the same in quality, right? The spirit soul in the body of Lord Brahma or the spirit soul in the body of a small ant is the same in quality. All are parts and parcels of Krishna. It's one unit. At the same time, it is divided into innumerable forms because there are so many different kinds, 8,400,000 species and millions of bodies are existing. Therefore, they are divided into innumerable forms. So one who understands this, that the soul is different from the body, that knowledge is knowledge in the mode of goodness. So one example is cassava ice cream. Now, this ice cream has different layers. There is variety. There are different flavors. There are fruits. There are nuts. There is cream, and there are different flavors of ice cream. But still, it is one unit, right? It is one cassava ice cream. If somebody is eating this and is asked, "What are you eating?" Is he going to say, "I'm having nuts. I'm having cream. I'm having strawberry ice cream. I'm having mango ice cream. I'm having orange ice cream"? No. He's just going to say, "I'm having cassava." Isn't it? So, same thing here. To understand that there is one undivided spiritual nature, though they are divided into innumerable forms. That knowledge is knowledge in the mode of goodness. Now let us see knowledge in the mode of passion.
पृथक्त्वेन तु यज्ञानं नानाभावान् पृथग्विधान् वेत्ति सर्वेषु भूतेषु तज्ज्ञानं विद्धि राजसम्.
That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion.
So knowledge in the mode of passion is that there is no clear understanding of the soul. One sees that in different body there is a different type of living entity. So he can only see that there are different kinds of bodies, and because there are different kinds of bodies, there is a different kind of consciousness. Such a person can only see the externals. He cannot understand or clearly distinguish, or does not clearly understand the soul. They think that there is no separate soul beyond the body. A person whose knowledge is in the mode of passion thinks that because the body is different, therefore the consciousness is different. He doesn't understand that the consciousness is a result of our body. Or they think that the consciousness is a result of the body, whereas one in proper knowledge understands that the body is because of a particular kind of consciousness. Because we had a certain consciousness in the previous life, only we have a certain kind of body in this lifetime. They think people whose knowledge in the mode of passion is, they think that this is a dog, therefore he is barking, right? But the correct knowledge is what? This person liked to bark, therefore he had the consciousness, and therefore he has got the body of a dog. That is the knowledge in the mode of goodness. So this is the difference between the two. Now let us see knowledge in the mode of ignorance.
यत्तु कृत्स्नवदेकस्मिन् कार्ये सक्तमहैतुकम् अतत्त्वार्थवदल्पं च तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्.
And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness.
So that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work. So here, the person whose knowledge is in the mode of darkness is only concerned about his own sense gratification. He's only concerned about how I can make my own life better, how I can eat better, how I can sleep better, how I can mate better, how I can defend better. That's all that the person is concerned about. He's only attached to one kind of work as the all in all. Everything ends there. How I can do everything, how can I enjoy this body better? That's it. So that is knowledge in the mode of darkness. Now, Srila Prabhupada writes that the knowledge of the common man is always in the mode of ignorance, because every living entity in conditional life is born in the mode of ignorance. So all of us are born into the mode of ignorance. So who opens our eyes? We have this shloka which we always chant before the beginning of the class. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. What does this mean? Let's read the translation.
I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
So we see in this verse also that I was born in the darkest ignorance. Exactly what Srila Prabhupada also said, that every living entity in conditional life is born in the mode of ignorance. So who opens the eyes with the torch of knowledge? It's the spiritual master. Therefore, we must offer respectful obeisances unto the spiritual master. Therefore, we must worship the spiritual master. Let's read what more Prabhupada writes in the book.
One who does not develop knowledge through the authorities or scriptural injunctions has knowledge that is limited to the body. He is not concerned about acting in terms of the directions of scripture. For him, God is money, and knowledge means the satisfaction of bodily demands.
So knowledge and mode of ignorance, just how I can satisfy my bodily demands, how I can eat, sleep, mate, and defend, because these are the four primary activities of the body. Now, most of the human population is only interested in eating, sleeping, mating, defending. That's it. So here's a summary. Let's read this.
Knowledge concerning the spirit soul beyond this body is called knowledge in the mode of goodness. This is self-illuminating in nature and leads one to the science of self-realization. Endeavor is for the eternal. Knowledge producing many theories and doctrines by dint of mundane logic and mental speculation is the product of the mode of passion that is materialistic in nature and leads one to theorize and doctrinate. Endeavor is for the temporary. Knowledge concerned only with keeping the body comfortable is said to be in the mode of ignorance, leads to utilizing the body as a tool for sense enjoyment. This is conducive for laziness, no endeavor at all. Sattvic sees spirit beyond matter, Rajasic see matter as everything, and Tamasic sees a part of matter as everything.
So knowledge in the mode of goodness, there the endeavor is for the eternal, because one understands the spirit soul, understands that there is a spirit soul beyond the body. When one does any endeavor under a mode of passion, with the knowledge under the mode of passion, then that is materialistic in nature, and it leads to theorize and doctrinate. So one comes up with his own theories, one's own doctrines, and here the endeavor is for the temporary because it is materialistic. And in mode of ignorance, there is no endeavor at all, because mode of ignorance, people are lazy and they love to sleep. So there is no endeavor at all. So they only see a part of matter. They don't see matter as everything. They only see one part of matter. So that is also within the framework of materialistic knowledge also, their knowledge is reduced to only how they can enjoy the senses better. That's it. So see, they see a part of matter as everything. That is concept.
नियतं सङ्गरहितं हरागद्वेषतः कृतम् अफलप्रेप्सुना कर्म यत्तत्सात्विकमुच्यते.
That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results is said to be in the mode of goodness.
So after talking about knowledge in the three modes, Krishna is going to talk about action in the three modes. So what is action in the mode of goodness? That which is regulated. That which is regulated means it has to be regulated with our duties, our prescribed duties, and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results. So it is performed only for the satisfaction of the Lord. It is not without desire for fruitive results. So we are not, one is not attached to fruitive results. It is done for the satisfaction of the Lord. So that kind of action is in the mode of goodness. Let's see action mode of passion.
यत्तु कामेप्सुना कर्म साहङ्कारेण वा पुनः क्रियते बहुलायासं तद्राजसमुदाहृतम्.
But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion.
So what is action in the mode of passion? He's giving us three conditions here, Krishna. It is performed with great effort and it's performed to gratify one's own desires. So previously it is performed to satisfy the Lord, but here this action in the mode of passion is performed to gratify one's own desires, and it is done with a sense of false ego. Sense of false ego that yes, I can enjoy independently from the Lord. But a person with Vedic understanding knows that one cannot enjoy independently from the Lord. If we try to satisfy the Lord, then automatically the Lord is going to take care of us. Material well-being automatically follows spiritual well-being.
अनुबन्धं क्षयं हिंसाम् अनपेक्ष च पौरुषम् मोहादारभ्यते कर्म यत्तत्तामसमुच्यते.
That action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others is said to be the mode of ignorance.
So now he's talking about action in the mode of ignorance. So that is what it is performed in illusion without following Shastric injunctions, without concern for future bondage. So there is no fear. This person has no fear of coming back again, taking birth again, having to go through birth, death, disease, and old age all over again. So there is no concern for future bondage, and there is no concern for violence or distress caused to others. The thing is, when one performs activities without scriptural injunctions, without following the rules and regulations of Shastra, then other living entities are distressed. There is violence to the other living entities. What are the four basic principles? No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. Now, if we do not follow these four rules from the Shastras, then again we are causing violence and distress to other living entities, isn't it? What to say of scriptural rules, even materialistic laws? If one does not follow the material laws also, the laws of the land, then one is causing distress to other living entities. People say, oh, I don't care for Shastra, I don't care for what the Gita says. What does it matter? Let's just enjoy life. Do what your mind says, do what you like to do. I don't like any restrictions. But there are laws and there are restrictions even the rules of the country. For example, if there is a red light at the signal, we have to stop. If we don't follow that instruction, if we don't follow those rules, then we are causing violence and distress to other living entities. Maybe somebody is going to die, somebody is going to have some medical issue because somebody violated the traffic signal. So therefore, it's very important to follow the rules and regulations. Materially itself, it's so important. Then Vedic rules and regulations are definitely important for us to follow.
मुक्तसङ्गो नहं वादी धृत्युत्साहसमन्वितः सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्योर्निर्विकारः कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते.
One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness.
So previously Krishna has explained jnana and then he explained karma in the three modes. Now he is explaining karta or the worker in the three modes. So who's a worker in the mode of goodness? A worker in the mode of goodness is one who is transcendental to the material modes. Transcendental to the material modes, which means he is liberated from material association. They have a balanced, regulated interaction with matter so that eventually they can transcend matter and they can eventually go beyond matter and they can go to spirit. He is above false ego and pride. He is determined and enthusiastic till the completion of the work. He does not give up midway. He does not lose enthusiasm midway. He's not worried about distress midway. And he doesn't care for success or failure. So this is a worker who's in the mode of goodness. Let's see worker in the mode of passion.
रागी कर्मफलप्रेप्सुर् लुब्धो हिंसात्मको शुचिः हर्षशोकान्वितः कर्ता राजसः परिकीर्तितः.
The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is to be in the mode of passion.
So worker in the mode of passion is someone who has no desire for elevation. He just wants to make this world as comfortable as possible. So just like he wants to move from a third class prison house to a first class prison house because this material world is compared to a prison house, isn't it? So he's just making the third class prison house to a first class prison house, but he's not interested in coming out of the prison house. So he's attached to a certain kind of work and he's also attached to the result of the work because he desires to enjoy materially. So he's attached to both the work as well as the fruits of the work. He is greedy. He wants more and more. He is envious of what other people possess. He is also unclean, impure. He doesn't care if his income is earned by fair or unfair means. And he is very happy if his work is successful and very distressed if his work is unsuccessful. So he is moved by joy and sorrow. So such a worker, such a karta is said to be in the mode of passion. Now let us see karta in the mode of ignorance.
अयुक्तः प्राकृतस्तब्धः शठो नैष्कृतिकोलसः विषादी दीर्घसूत्री च कर्ता तामस उच्यते.
The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose, and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance.
So worker in tamoguna, he works against the shastra. He is materialistic. So he doesn't care for shastra and he works according to the modes of nature. He is obstinate, stubborn. He is not gentle. He is cheating. So in his dealings also, he is not straightforward. He is cunning in his dealings. He is expert in insulting others and lazy. So he will not do his duties properly and he will put it aside for later, procrastinate or postpone things for years and years, those things that can be done within 1 hour. So such a person is, again, that worker is in a mode of ignorance. Morose. So morose means such people are ill-tempered and sullen and they're always lamenting. Why is it not good to be lamenting always? Is because when we self-pity or when we pity ourselves, then we are placing whom in the center? We are placing ourselves in the center. Why did this happen to me? ये मेरे साथ ही क्यों होता है? So that is putting myself in the center. So such people in the mode of ignorance are always morose. In contrast to this, a devotee does not lament. A devotee may repent. Right? A devotee may repent, saying that, oh, I lost so many years without engaging myself in the service of the Lord. I lost so many years without having read the scriptures. Instead, I read so much of mundane literature in the past, right? So one can regret, but the devotee does not lament, because when one regrets like this, then he is putting the Lord in the center. He's not putting himself in the center. So it is what one is thinking that counts. And procrastination means we put it for later. This is one disease that most of the human population has, even in amongst Indians. Spirituality should be done later when one is old. So we put it off later. When we are young, we think that okay, now I'm a teenager. Now I want to enjoy. I'll keep it for later. Later, what happens? He gets married. He starts working, or he starts working and then gets married. Now he's busy with making ends meet. He's busy with it's like, oh, I'm newly married. Let me enjoy. Now he has children. Oh, I have a lot of responsibilities. I have to take care of my children. I have their responsibilities. So let my children grow big. So like that, we keep on procrastinating until old age comes. And when we are old and the body is not fit enough to engage in so many devotional services, no, because an old body has its limitations. So therefore, we should not procrastinate. Spiritual life should begin as early as possible. In fact, spiritual life begins even before the child is in the womb. When the mother does the Garbhadana Samskara, that's where it starts now. So let's read this point from the purport that Srila Prabhupada writes.
In the scripture functions, we find that what sort of work should be performed and what sort of work should not be performed. Those who do not care for those injunctions engage in work not to be done, and such persons are generally materialistic. They work according to the modes of nature, not according to the injunctions of the scriptures.
So they work according to the modes of nature. Just as how the modes of nature make them dance, then they dance to the tunes of the modes of nature. They are not working according to what Shastra says. So such people, they like to indulge in meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. Shastra says that a person who follows these four principles of no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling is now at the level of being a human being. If one is not following even these four rules, then one is at the animalistic level. So although one may have a human body, still he's at the animalistic level only. Only when we follow these four principles, we come to the level of being a civilized human being, or being in the level of a human being itself. For that, we have to follow these four principles. Let's read this article.
The mind is a perpetual procrastinator. It postpones our resolutions to someday, then some decade, and then some lifetime. If we look back at our lives and think of a good habit that we couldn't, if we look back at our lives and think of a good habit that we could have cultivated years ago, we often notice how our mind made us put it off for one day. And that one day became 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 1 decade. If we keep listening to the mind, we will keep delaying for our entire lifetime, maybe even several lifetimes. Pertinently, the Bhagavad Gita 18.28 cautions against the perpetual procrastination and that characterizes those who function in ignorance. If we want our life to improve, we need to reject the mind's procrastinating rationalizations and reject them now, even if that rejection takes the form of just one baby step, that's enough. The key is not how much distance we cover, but how much resistance we muster against our mind. Chaitanya Charandas.
So we should not postpone for later. The time is now. We may have some bad habits. We may, because we are born in a background of ignorance. And we may not have been raised in a devotee family. We may have not been raised on Vedic culture. We may not have been taught these things since childhood. We may have indulged in some nonsense, right? But the point is now, how much more are we going to do? Actually, we have spent so many lifetimes, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, because Why the reason why we are here is because we have not yet attained self-realization. Otherwise, we would have been in the spiritual world, isn't it? So we have actually gone through so many lifetimes procrastinating, postponing it. We have not, we have not surrendered fully. Therefore, at least we have to make up our mind and make a decision to start now. The good thing about bhakti is we can begin at any point in our lifetime. It doesn't matter how old we are. It doesn't matter whether we are rich, poor, man, woman, Indian, American, whoever we may be. Even if we are the most fallen, rotten, uh, most sinful, it doesn't matter. Once we surrender to the Lord will take us. He is the most merciful. In our previous home program, we were discussing about a prostitute called Pingala. So she herself says that she is in the most abominable profession, but she attains self-realization. And she understands. So therefore, we were discussing how it doesn't matter the Lord, even though Pingala is in the most abominable profession, because she surrendered, the Lord will take her. So the good thing about bhakti is no matter who we are, how fallen we are, how rotten we are, which stage we are, if we surrender, the Lord is going to take us. But the point is, we should not postpone it. No more procrastination. The time is now. Because if we keep it for later, and later, then someday we'll do it. One of these days we'll do it. But one of these days means it's none of these days. It's never going to happen. So three types of doers: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Those who are sattvic, the doers who are sattvic, they have a balance. We discussed this. They have a balanced, regulated interaction with matter. Eventually, then they can go beyond matter to spirit. Those who are rajasic, they have a very frantic interaction with matter. So they are more greedy, right? They want more and more. They're envious of what other people have. So therefore they have a frantic interaction with matter. But tamasic people, because they love to sleep and they are lazy. They are lazy. They have the inability to interact properly even with matter. So these are the three types of doers.
बुद्धेर्भेदं धृतेश्चैव गुणतस्त्रिविधं शृणु प्रोच्यमानमशेषेण पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय.
O Venerable, oh please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of material nature.
So here Krishna is going to talk about buddhi and vritti, understanding and determination in each of the three modes. Let's see what Krishna has to say.
प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च कार्याकार्ये भयाभये बन्धं मोक्षं च या वेत्ति बुद्धिः सा पार्थ सात्विकी.
O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done, what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness.
So what is understanding in the mode of goodness? One knows what should be done and what should not be done. Now, sometimes we may face challenging situations. We may be in a bewildering situation, just like how Arjuna was in a bewildering situation, isn't it? At the beginning of the war, he didn't know whether he should fight or he should not fight. He was thinking, is it sinful to fight and cause the death of my spiritual master and my elders, my grandfather, great devotees like Bhishma Dev? So should I fight or should I not fight? Am I being greedy for a kingdom? These questions were running through his mind. So he didn't know what to do. But in that moment when he didn't know what to do, he actually knew what to do, which was he knew that he has to surrender to Krishna. He knew that he has to consult a senior authority. So when we have bewildering situations in our life, it's very, very important to consult a senior authority. Now, Krishna is not personally present. He may not be personally present in front of us, but we have his representatives. The spiritual master is a representation of Krishna. So we have to consult with our spiritual master. If our spiritual master is not around, or we do not have a spiritual master yet, Then we have to consult with someone who's a senior devotee, who's a superior authority than us, who can give us the right kind of advice. So it's very, very important that we consult a senior authority. In the case of Kaikeyi from the Ramayana, now her big error was, even she was in a bewildering situation. The word manthara means one who churns the mind. Man means mind. So manthara means one who churns the mind. So mantra had churned the mind of Kaikeyi, and she told her that, oh, you have to ask for your 2 boons from your husband, from the king, and send Ram to the forest and ask him that Bharat should be crowned king. Now at that time, Kaikeyi did not consult with the senior authority. If Kaikeyi had consulted with a senior authority, then she would have probably not asked for those 2 boons, or she would have been shown the right path. But she just got carried away by what mantra told her. So therefore, it's very important that we know what to do when we don't know what to do. So understanding in the mode of goodness is one knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. What is to be feared and what is not to be feared. Of course, we have to fear fall downs. We have to fear Maya, and not to be feared. One should not be concerned about losing what material assets one owns. What is binding and what is liberating? What kind of act? One knows what is binding and what is liberating. One knows what activities will bind me here to the material world and what activities will liberate me from the cycle of birth and death. So that understanding is understanding the mode of goodness. Now this verse 18.30 has 4 binaries. Binaries means it involves 2 things. So if you see the Sanskrit, it has 4 binaries like pravritti and nivritti in the first line. Then we have karya and akarya, second line, and bhaya and abhaya, and bandham and moksham. So this shloka has 4 binaries in this. So this is also one special aspect of this shloka. Let's read this.
Intellect. So I'll read full part of the column of intellect first.
Yes.
Intellect. Information processing capacity. Example. Some people can memorize, analyze, and verbalize many facts about the harms of smoking, yet they struggle to let go of cigarettes. Intelligence. Decision-making capacity. Example. Some people may not remember even a single medical fact about the harms of smoking, yet they desist from it without much struggle. Bhagawad Gita 18.30 states that good intelligence is characterized by sound decision-making ability. Clearly, intelligence is more essential and consequential than intellect. Based on our past karma, we are all born with a certain level of intellect. While we can raise our intellect to some extent by training and practice, we can't improve it dramatically. Nonetheless, we all can improve our intelligence. How? By studying wisdom texts such as the Bhagavad Gita and thereby understanding the purpose of life and the principles of living. The more we become purpose driven and principle centered, the more we can neglect distractions and take sound decisions. One sentence summary. We may or may not be intellectual, but we all can become intelligent.
So intellect is something that we may or may not have. Not everyone has the ability and the capacity to process information and to memorize and analyze and verbalize so many things about. Let's say there is somebody who has great memory, who's very good at Sanskrit, and he has memorized all 700 shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is on his fingertips. He can just narrate. Very nice. It's very good to have that intellect. But if he has intellect and he does not have intelligence, if he does not put those teachings of the Lord into practice, then he is lacking in intelligence. On the other side, if one is intelligent, he's living the life by putting into practice that which are the teachings of the Lord or that which the Shastra teaches us. But he does not have the capacity to memorize the shlokas. Then it's fine. Then that is good enough to take him back to the kingdom of God. So it's good to have intellect, but if you have intellect and no intelligence, then what is the use of that intellect? On the other hand, if you have intelligence and you don't have intellect, you're good enough to go back to realize God in that lifetime. So intelligence is something that we can all become intelligent by making the choice that yes, I want to put into practice that which the Lord has taught me. 31.
यया धर्ममधर्मं च कार्यं च कार्यमेव च अयथावत् प्रजानाति बुद्धिः सा पार्थ राजसी.
O son of Partha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion.
So understanding the mode of goodness was that one knows what should be done and what should not be done, and understanding the mode of passion is one does not distinguish between what should be done and what should not be done. So this is the exact opposite of the previous verse. So he cannot distinguish between dharma and adharma, between that action that which should be done and that which should not be done. So that understanding is in the mode of passion. Now let us see understanding the mode of ignorance.
अधर्मं धर्ममिति या मन्यते तमसावृता सर्वार्थान् विपरीतांश्च बुद्धिः सा पार्थ तामसी.
That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is the mode of ignorance.
So this is the most dangerous, no? To consider irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion. To accept the truth as untruth and to accept the untruth as truth. For example, if somebody says, oh, that Krishna is just an imaginary personality, he actually did not exist. So now you're considering the truth to be untruth. And on the other side, if somebody is going to build a temple and worship a politician or worship a film star, then he is considering irreligion to be religion. So this is the most dangerous, no? To accept the truth to be untruth and to accept untruth to be truth. So that understanding is in the mode of ignorance. Let's read this.
Mataji, should I read the Sanskrit shloka?
The English is fine.
Okay. To be in ignorance is bad. Example, not knowing God exists. To be in ignorance and to claim to be in knowledge is worse. Example, if we have proven that matter is all that exists. To be in ignorance and to claim that knowledge is ignorance is worse. Example, religion is the opium of the masses. God is a psychological crutch for the weak minded.
So sarva arthan viparitam. So sarva arthan means all the things. Viparitam means is in the wrong direction. So everything is considered in the wrong direction. So dharma as adharma and adharma as dharma. So that is the worst situation, or the most dangerous situation. So if you just analyze the shlokas of jnana and the shlokas of buddhi, one may ask what is the difference. So jnana, if you read the shlokas, is more related with perception, with how one sees things. For example, 18.20 says, the knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen. So jnana has got to do with perception, how one sees things, how one perceives the things, whereas buddhi is related to action, when the thing is done itself. So this is the difference between jnana and buddhi. Let's read this.
Jnana versus buddhi, knowledge versus understanding. So knowledge or jnana is related with perception, seeing the world, while buddhi or understanding is related with action, choosing the right things to do. Jnana is sattvic jnana, as we saw in 18.20, sees spirit, And sattvic buddhi is what we saw in 18.30, tells us which actions will connect us with spirit. Jnana is theoretical, while buddhi is practical. Or we can buddhi is to bring it into practice.
So knowledge, as we discussed, is how we perceive things. So it is on the theoretical level, whereas understanding or buddhi is at the level of we doing the things. So there we bring in the practicality. Okay, now Krishna is going to tell us about dhritti or determination in the three modes.
धृत्या यया धारयते मनः प्राणेन्द्रियक्रियाः योगेनाव्यभिचारिण्या धृतिः सा पार्थ सात्विकी.
Also the partha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of.
So why is Krishna talking about determination now? Is because determination makes intelligence firm in its decisions. So that's why we need determination in our spiritual life. Otherwise, we will give up midway. So what is now? Now he is discussing determination in the three modes. So what is determination in the mode of goodness? Krishna says that it is unbreakable. And it is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice. Now, yoga practice doesn't mean the physical exercises that is believed to be yoga. Yoga practice here refers to devotional services.
Goodness.
Sustained with steadfastness by devotional services, which controls the activities of the mind. So one is fixed up without any deviation from the Supreme. Controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses. Okay, so that is determination in the mode of goodness. So avyabhicharinya. So without any deviation, one is fixed up by concentrating his mind, life, and senses on the Supreme. Then that determination is in sattva guna. Then that determination is in the mode of goodness. Now let us see determination in the mode of
यया तु धर्मकामार्थान् धृत्या धारयते अर्जुन प्रसंगेन फलाकांक्षी धृतिः सा पार्थ राजसी.
But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna.
So determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. If we have to say this in three words, it is dharma, artha, and kama. So four subject matters of the Vedas are dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So if one is holding on to only dharma, artha, and kama, dharma here refers to material religiosity. What is material religiosity? Material religiosity is, yes, I will do some religious practices, but I want something in return. For example, I may do a yajna, but I want to have a son in return. Or I will worship Lord Shiva, but I want to have a beautiful wife. Or I will worship Goddess Parvati, but I want to have a good husband. So this is all called material religiosity. Religiosity because I want to fulfill my own desires, not that I am performing some religious activities because I love the Lord. So when one holds on to dharma, artha, and kama, that determination is in the mode of passion.
यया स्वप्नं भयं शोकं विषादं मदमेव च न विमुञ्चति दुर्मेधा धृतिः सा पार्थ तामसी.
And that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Partha, is in the mode of darkness.
So determination in ignorance cannot go beyond dreaming. Here dream refers to too much sleep, not dreaming in the sleep, but refers to too much sleep, that one cannot avoid oversleeping. And then we have fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, which we already discussed, illusion. So Krishna says that such determination is unintelligent determination. Such a person is, he cannot avoid the pride of enjoying material objects. And he's always dreaming of lording it over or um, dominating material nature. So that kind of determination is determination mode of ignorance. And Krishna says that is unintelligent. Let's read this article.
How the mind is a robber who pretends to be a well-wisher. Suppose a robber comes to our house pretending to be our well-wisher and tells us that our car, which we had parked on a nearby street, is being robbed. Alarmed, we rush out to stop the robbery, but the car is already gone. When we return, we find that we had left our house open and the so-called well-wisher has robbed our house clean. Our mind is such a robber who claims to be our well-wisher. Suppose things to go wrong in our life partially due to some poor choices from our past. Our mind starts dragging our thoughts to the future. Our mind steals. Wait. While we are thus consumed with regrets about the past and fears about the future, our mind steals away from us our actual treasure, our time, specifically the present moment. If we are to do anything constructive, the present is all that we have and all that we will ever have. And when our mind steals it away from us by diverting us toward the past or the future, pertinently, the Bhagavad Gita 18.35 urges us to stay away from ignorant thought patterns filled with fear, lamentation, and moroseness. How can we protect ourselves from being robbed by our mind? By studying Gita wisdom regularly, we can stay cautious knowing that our mind is ever ready to distract us. And by daily spiritual practices, we can train ourselves to pin our attention on the present do to the best we can with it. Chaitanya Charandas.
So if a robber comes to our house and says that I'm your well-wisher, somebody is robbing your car, and we rush to get the car, and in the meantime we see that that so-called well-wisher actually robbed us of our house also. So how devastating it's going to be. So the mind is also like that. The mind takes away from us the past and the future by us worrying about our past or us worrying about the future. So that's why Krishna says that when one's thoughts are filled with fear, lamentation, and moroseness. Moroseness, we discussed how one may think that, oh, why did this happen to me? So somebody may be still lingering in what has happened in the past, or lamenting for something that may have happened in the past, and fear. So one may be filled with fear for the future. Or what will happen? What will happen 5 years from now? What will happen 10 years from now? What if I lose what I have already possessed? So that's why we insure our cars, we insure our homes, we want to insure our health, our life, isn't it? So therefore, mind is a robber who claims to be our well-wisher. It takes away from us it takes away our present from us by making us think about the future or making us think about the past. The only thing that we have is the present. So right now, the moment to moment choices that we make right now determines what we will become in the future. The current body that we have or the current material status that we have is because of what we did in the past. So obviously what we do now is going to determine what kind of body we are going to have in the future, whether we are going to be in the body of a human being or a demigod or a spiritual body or in the body of an ant or stool or a pig who's eating stool. So that depends on the moment to moment choices we are making currently. So therefore, let's not allow the mind to steal away our present by worrying about the past or lamenting about the past or worrying about the future. So what's the connection between jnana, buddhi, and vritti? Jnana means
Knowledge.
Yeah, jnana means knowledge, buddhi means the understanding, and dhriti means the determination, isn't it? So what is sattvic jnana? Sattvic jnana, we saw that one can see the spirit. And sattvic buddhi tells us which actions will connect us with the spirit. So we are seeing the connection between jnana, buddhi, and dhriti. And sattvic dhriti is that which helps us do those actions which will help us see the spirit. So this is the connection between these three, and that's why Krishna has spoken this in this particular sequence. When you read the translations of these verses, then you will be able to see this better.
Okay.
Let's go to 36.
सुखं त्विदानीं त्रिविधं शृणु मे भरतर्षभ अभ्यासाद्रमते यत्र दुःखान्तं च निगच्छति.
O best of the Bharatas, now please hear from me about the three kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys, and by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress.
So when one does activity with determination, obviously it's going to the activity is going he's going to bring the activity to an end, and when the activity ends or when it comes to its expected end, then it's going to bring some happiness. So therefore now Krishna is going to talk about happiness in the three modes. Let's see what Prabhupada writes in the purport.
Purport 18.36. A conditioned soul tries to enjoy material happiness again and again. Thus he chooses the chewed. But sometimes in the course of such enjoyment, he becomes relieved from material entanglement by association with a great soul. In other words, a conditioned soul is always engaged in some type of sense gratification. But when he understands by good association that it is only a repetition of the same thing, and he is awakened to his real Krishna consciousness, he is sometimes relieved from such repetitive so-called happiness.
So happiness in the material world is chewing the chewed, chewing again that which we have already chewed in the past. For example, if we have a sugar cane, we chew the sugar cane, we get some juice out of it, we enjoy the juice, and then when we cannot extract any more juice, we just throw it away, isn't it? Now, if we take a sugar cane that we have already chewed upon and chew it again, is it going to give us any more juice? Is it going to give us any more joy? No. But material happiness is like that. We are chewing the chewed. So we have crossed through so many millions of lifetimes trying to enjoy our senses, life after life after life after life. And we still don't realize that we are chewing the chewed. So what is the happiness in that? That's the reason why we cannot be fully happy. We cannot be happy until we unite with the Lord. So see, here is the actually this verse Puna Punas Charavita Charvananam was spoken by Prahalad Maharaj, chewing the chewed. So somebody chewed the sugar cane, took out the juice, and the remnants are thrown away. What will you get by chewing again those remnants? So what is the point of trying to enjoy the senses again and again in different bodies? No? We have crossed through so many millions of bodies. So what we are doing is we are again and again chewing the chewed. This is the verse that Prahalad Maharaj speaks. Let's read the translation.
Prahlad Maharaj replied, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons who addicted to materialistic life make progress toward hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclination toward Krishna are never aroused, either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both.
So see, that line is in the last verse of the Sanskrit shloka. Puna Punas Charavita Charvanala. Chewing the chewed.
यत्तदग्रे विषमिव परिणामे मृतोपमम् तत्सुखं सात्विकं प्रोक्तम् आत्मबुद्धिप्रसादजम्.
That which is in the beginning may just be like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness.
So he is explaining, Krishna is explaining happiness in the mode of goodness. What is happiness in the mode of goodness? At the beginning, it may be just like poison, but at the end, it is just like nectar. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of somebody who's infected with jaundice. Now, when he's infected with jaundice, he's in a diseased state, right? And previously, the only medicine for jaundice was to take sugar candy. Now, because he's in a disease state, because he's suffering from jaundice, when he takes sugar candy, that sugar candy is going to taste very, very bitter. Not because the sugar candy is bitter. Sugar candy is very sweet, right? Very pleasant. But because he's in a disease state, that sugar candy is tasting very bitter to him. Now, that's the only cure, right? There is no other option. So he has to take it, whether he likes it or not. So it appears like poison. But as he takes the sugar candy more and more, gradually what happens? He is getting cured of his disease. So now the very same sugar candy is going to taste as sweet as nectar. Why? Because now he has been cured of his disease. So when we take the spiritual practices in the beginning of our spiritual life, we may not like it. It may appear like poison. You know? Oh, I have to chant my rounds. I have so many restrictions. I cannot eat what I like. I like to eat, sleep, enjoy life. Enjoy life like an, I don't know, whatever they say. So it may seem like poison in the beginning, but as we do devotional practices, as we engage in devotional services, then we are being cured of our material disease. You know, right now, in the beginning, when we take to devotional practices, we are materially diseased. We are in a conditioned state. But as we take to devotional practices, as we engage in bhakti, then that very same medicine, bhakti is the medicine. So that very bhakti at the end will taste just like nectar, because then we get realizations, then we feel our connection with the Lord, then we can be one with the Lord. We can go back home, back to Godhead at the end of this lifetime itself. So that is happiness. Happiness in the mode of goodness. It may be like poison in the beginning, but it ends just like nectar. Now let's see what is happiness in the mode of passion.
विषयेन्द्रियसंयोगात् यत्तदग्रे मृतोपमम् परिणामे विषमिव तत्सुखं राजसंस्मृतम्.
That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion.
So this is the opposite of mode of goodness. So here the happiness, it appears like nectar in the beginning, but it is poison at the end. So how is this happiness derived? Derived from contact of the senses with the sense objects. What are the five senses? Nose, eyes, ears, tongue, and skin. And the sense objects are smell, form, sound, taste, and touch. Because with the eyes, what we see the form. So that is a sense object. With the tongue, what do? We taste. So the sense is tongue, and the sense object is to taste. So when the senses come in touch with the sense objects, then it gives happiness. Now that happiness, which is in the mode of passion, in the beginning, it is like nectar. So for example, a young couple, they come in touch with each other. The senses are meeting, the eyes are seeing the form, then there is some physical contact, you know, they hear the sweet voice of the partner. They like the perfume that the partner uses, some smell is involved. So like that, now this happiness is very, very nectarian in the beginning. But later on, what happens? Then there are fights, there are misunderstandings. So therefore, then it ends like poison. So this is happiness in the mode of passion. Now let us see what is happiness in the mode of ignorance.
यदग्रे चानुबन्धे च सुखं मोहनमात्मनः निद्रालस्य प्रमादोत्थं तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्.
And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance.
So happiness in Tamoguna is no happiness at all. There is no nectar, neither in the beginning nor in the end. For him, everything is illusion, just lazy, everything is just darkness. So complete ignorance. He has no idea how to act, what to do, and what not to do. So that is happiness in the mode of ignorance. So yes, we have to fall asleep to take care of our body, but let us not fall for sleep. The last verse for the day.
न तदस्ति पृथिव्यां वा दिवि देवेषु वा पुनः सत्त्वं प्रकृतिजैर्मुक्तं यदेभिः स्यात् त्रिभिर्गुणैः
There is no being existing, either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary systems, which is freed from these three modes born of material nature. Hare
So,
Krishna.
so here Krishna is summarizing the influence of the three modes all over the universe. What is he saying? He's saying that there is no being in the entire universe who is free from the effect of these three modes. Neither in the heavenly planets, nor in the earthly planets, nor in the hellish planets. Every living entity is is under the influence of the three modes, Krishna says. So we'll stop here. We'll go to the next section in the next class. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.